Oh, we're going down under today. Why is that? Well, because we got the D disc. That's right. Remember this UFO, the UFO, the unidentified flying object in the under? Well, now that we have the D disc that we, in a fail way, obtained from Gonzap, our ex-boss. And who is this? Oh, well, look at that. As if I already knew that D meant down. Or is it, what did you think it meant? Diagonal? That wouldn't have been a too far off guess. But you can already get to the herb shop with just going forward. Just going forward to the Colosseum. So the D disc lets us go down. Lets us go down, 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 down underground. And in the underground, there is a special tournament. Ooh, and there's also special shiny things left on the ground. Steel teeth. Okay. I don't know what steel teeth are for. But maybe if we get punched in the underground, we could replace them and bite people's hands off. So, this was a minor Colosseum. Huh. That's pretty interesting. So after a hard day in the mines, the miners would come to the Colosseum and battle. Cypher admins. Huh. So that's why Mirror B is here. He entered this dark tournament, if you will, the underground dark tournament. It's a lot like Yu Yu Hakusho almost in a way. And we're going to do the same, but first I wanted to save. And also do a jump cut to switch pokes and make sure everything is set. I didn't want to talk to you, thanks. Yeah, I was actually trying to talk to you, receptionist lady. The Deep Colosseum. Alright, cool, it's deep. Deep like the ocean. Deep like the grains of sand in the world. Deep like the pockets of magma in the Earth's core. It's deep. Actually, you would not want a Colosseum at the Earth's core. This is a pretty awesome Colosseum, though, I have to admit. Look at this place. Giant fan blades on the top. Very rustic. I hope they don't fall. And if they do, I hope they crush my opponent and not I. Maybe that's like a special element to the game. The fan blades may fall, and your pokes and you yourself need to be prepared to back out of the way. But this is a badass battle stadium, in my opinion. I love fighting in this world. I love using this Colosseum because the structures are so maddening. It's very reminiscent of Portal 2. I don't want to say too much, but it's like old Aperture. If you've played Portal 2, which most people on my Steam list seem to have the game, so that's why I'm saying it now, then you know old Aperture with its large underground lab structures and testing facilities, holding up the very Earth itself with just giant, massive comical tubes and pillars that just, I don't know how you would do it. The miners are magnificent. You know, miners, and I'm not talking about young people, miners who work underground. They're the reason we have our video game machines that we do. I mean, the very LCD displays of which I edit these episodes out on comes from those minerals. So here's to the miners, the ones who can battle underground. And you may have noticed the audio just suddenly switched in quality. I need to work something out with that clip-on mic. I don't know what it is, but for some reason it randomly picks up weird wind that is not in my house. All the windows are shut. There's no sort of disturbance. There's nobody in the next room playing any sort of game or vacuuming. The only thing I can imagine it picks up somehow is my laptop fan, and that's specifically what I didn't want it to pick up, so I will have to investigate that microphone a little bit in more detail and see if there's any adjustments I can make, and if not, I may have to return it. I realized it was an interesting product when I noticed there was no English instructions on it, so maybe that's the case. It had some good reviews on it on Amazon, but maybe I guess they weren't good enough. Just like this Nuzleaf. It's not good enough! And it's a weird poke in itself. it reminds me sort of Il Piantissimo, which Vlad has played, Super Mario Sunshine. That's where you'll see that character. And he's got the same sort of body frame as Nuzleaf, and he does have like a mask over his face. What's underneath Nuzleaf's nose plate? Anything? It's a Nuzlocke challenge! One of these days I'll try that out. I'll try that out with a game that I've actually played and completed before. I don't want to try it with X and Y, and I don't even know if I'll be doing X or Y on this channel, just as a matter of timing things. Yep, to be quite honest, when the school year rolls around again, I'm going to be super busy, taking like 18 credits, I think, this time, instead of like, what is it, 14 or 15? I don't even know what the normal thing is, but more than usual, 5 classes instead of 4 or 3, and we'll see how that goes. But because of that, I doubt I have ways to film my 3DS, and I would just say, you know, get the game yourself. It's going to be the first 3D Pokemon game handheld. That is amazing. That is a huge advancement in our Pokemon battling technology. That's right, even this guy knows. He's like, no, I'm in 3D, but not 3D. And he's upset about it. So he's deeply hurt by the fact that he's not the first 3D. He's not even the first 3D attempt for Nintendo or the Pokemon Company doing it. Pokemon Stadium was. And doing Pokemon Snap. Oh man, Pokemon Snap. Of all the Nintendo 64 games to remake in the essence of 3D, in the celebration of 3D, I mean, they remade Star Fox 64, they remade Ocarina of Time, they might very well make, again, Majora's Mask available in 3D, which I would love. I'm just saying right now, Nintendo, I would buy that shit. And, you know, if they did that for Pokemon Snap, that would be a revolution on the 3DS. That would just be amazing. Sales would fly for the thing. If you want to sell that new 3DS Eevee style that they're going to come out with pretty soon, they got a Pikachu version 3DS, and now they got an Eevee one. And I like the Pikachu. I would definitely try to get that, but the Eevee one looks pretty cool. I don't think Eevee's actually on it anywhere. It's just Eevee's colors and stripes. Then support it with a release on the Virtual Console, or even a cartridge-based game at this point. Hell, I would, you know, get it as a cartridge game fully, just like you did Ocarina and hopefully Majora's Mask when it comes out, and Star Fox, and make Pokemon Snap available again to a new generation in 3D, because we've seen a whole bunch of battling styles. It wasn't just too long ago that the characters on the portable gaming system actually moved, which is interesting because we've seen other RPGs on the DS and 3DS with moving characters in their RPGs, but Pokemon for the longest time had just still characters. They had opening animation when they came out of the ball, but they were not moving around on the field. So just that recent, and already worldwide we're going to get a release of 3D Pokemon adventures. A full adventure at that, too. Not like this game where there's not full all 600 plus, however they're going to be with the 6th gen added, maybe over 700, maybe 1,000, who freaking knows. You know, but with all these, 3D has never been had for a full adventure. This was short. It's a really fast game, minus the grinding. The grinding is what takes up the majority of this game, and that's my biggest problem with it. And that's why I think it holds it back at a like 8.2 maybe. I would say 8.5 at the most. Like, this is a really good game, and if you're a Pokemon fan, play it. It's an interesting experience. You could get some rare Shadow Pokes, some evolutions of Pokemon like Tyranitar and Metagross have you seen in past episodes without even having to do a lot of training. And for those higher forms, those are harder to get. So to capture them is a lot easier than training up for them. You can start with them being Tyranitar, and then it will be a lot easier to move out from there and further train that Tyranitar with EVs, for example, if you wanted to do that. It's a quick way to get Tyranitar without having to do any sort of nursery training, but not recommended if you are trying to use it for metagame, because, you know, good luck if you get all the way to the end and you find out that Escade does not have the right nature. I mean, I don't know how late in the game you can save
and change the Tyranitar's nature, but you'll have to purify it first, or get its shadow down a bit, its shadow gauge down a bit with like cologne case or something, in order to see its nature. This way you know the best way to purify it. But the best way to purify it may not lead you to the optimal nature, so it's things to consider. But to have a full 3D game, as I was saying, of the whole RPG, going through all the gyms, going through all the Elite Four, that's going to be immense. And even more so that it's the handheld version, because it's a lot easier, I think, to do Wi-Fi on the DS or 3DS and go to hotspots than it is to have it on the Wii, because, quite frankly, Battle Revolution, it's run dry. Although it has Wi-Fi, there's nobody on there. Really, you can wait for hours and never get a match. Not even people in Japan, really, are playing that anymore. Unless you find somebody with friend codes, it's hard to get that sort of battle going. But on the 3DS, portable, you can get a Wi-Fi hotspot at Starbucks or McDonald's or wherever you're traveling throughout the day. You don't even have to have Wi-Fi yourself, and you could have battles in 3D. It really makes me wonder how the character models are going to look, you know, because there are models for the Pokédex 3D application, which I actually obtained at $10, which is a sale. Still may be going on, depends when this episode is released, but if it is, go get it. It's really awesome. Again, only if you're a Pokemaniac like myself, you'll really appreciate it. All the work that went into it, things of that sort. But, yeah, you know, those models, very detailed. I don't think they look the same as some of the demos we've seen for the 3DS version of X and Y. Well, there's only going to be a 3DS version, but for X and Y videos they've shown, it looks like different models. So it'll be interesting to see how those look in 3D. It's definitely not the Pokemon Rumble type art style, which I really am kind of over at this point, especially since they didn't really get much better with Rumble. They're going to come out with Rumble U, and I don't know how good that will be, but I'm not hopeful for it. Just as this guy is probably not very hopeful that he's going to survive this next onslaught of our attacks. Got Suicune and Ampharos. So, let's do, similar to Black Kyurem, an Ice Bolt attack! Combined with Suicune's Aurora Beam, will freeze this dodo, and then Ampharos will shock shatter it, thanks to the Assurance of Rain Dance. That's double battling at its finest. You gotta love it. The semifinals of this Deep Colosseum are done. On the next episode, we'll go to the finals of our first match in Deep Colosseum. Who will be our challenger?